We said it in October 2025. Now the EU is admitting it. Cows do not cause climate change. In fact, cows are great for climate.
Who'd have thought?
3, 2, 1.
Anyone that owns a big brown cow, or any cow for that matter, understands that cows are not the cause of climate change. They are not affecting climate change. They are not the great emitters of our time. They're just cows. They eat the methane. They expel the methane. The methane comes back into the grass that they eat, and so the cycle repeats.
The cycle of life.
The cycle of carbon. Well, even though we've been saying this for a while now, finally the world is coming to its senses. And despite the WEF and the UN continuing to claim that cattle are a major source of damaging greenhouse gas emissions, including methane, the EU has now officially changed the position when it comes to cattle.
Take a look at this.
This is honestly one of the most significant developments in 2 decades. I was working in the U.S. Senate Environment Public Works Committee when the UN came out with that watershed report in 2006 saying that cow emissions were more damaging to the planet than planes, trains, and automobiles combined. And after that, the EU and the entirety of Europe lost their minds. And as you mentioned, we went from then Prince Charles, trying to fund companies to put masks on cows to prevent methane. They had devices for the rear end of cows to capture the methane because they were so dangerous. You had Germany proposing 1 sausage per person limit because of meat consumption cuts. You had Ireland proposing 200,000 meat culling meat. You had the World Economic Forum pushing eating insects. You had lab-grown meat being pushed by Bill Gates. All of that insanity is collapsing now. This is a significant development, and it's because of, I believe it's chiefly 2 reasons. Donald Trump leading the way in America against the entire climate agenda, head on against the meat restrictions pushed by the United Nations and the EU. And secondly, it's the grassroots rebellion of the European farmers beginning in the Netherlands and spreading throughout Europe and ending, and I might say, I don't condone violence of any kind, but ending with the spraying of manure all over the EU headquarters building in Brussels. I can't think of a better place to throw manure and spread manure than the Brussels headquarters of the EU. But this is so significant. They're now saying that cow production, meat eating, and agricultural production is preparedness, assets to defend, food security. This is actual sanity coming from Europe when it comes to climate and agricultural policy. I'm blown away right now. This is the best news that I've been able to deliver. We've been delivering great news in America the last year and a half. We can finally start delivering it now in Europe. Yes, I mean, we had John Kerry in the United States saying we have to go after the agricultural emissions. They were doing the same thing here. The idea was, and this again, coming from the UN, the World Economic Forum, was to restrict meat eating. They said it was going to be a rare staple treat. UN climate chiefs talked about meat eaters being relegated to small sections in the restaurant like smokers used to be.
So at one point, the German Society for Nutrition updated their nutritional guidelines to a maximum of 300 grams of meat or sausages per person per week.
Per week? That'd be like 1 meal.
1 steak.
Jeez.
Yep. This was, as they put it, to encourage a healthier lifestyle, because meat's evidently no good for you all of a sudden, and environmental outcomes. But in early July 2026, the EU changed its position. The EU now state livestock is critical infrastructure.
Oh, sanity has returned.
Can you believe it? It's become more about food security and about Europe's future. It has felt that this is no longer a problem to manage, but more of an asset to defend.
So by the sound of it, the farmers fighting against this insanity has turned the tide.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Good on the farmers. That's why we love farmers.
Exactly. Yep.
Good on them.
It wasn't that long ago that the Netherlands made court rulings that pushed the government toward buying out farms and cutting livestock by 1/3. In Ireland, a leaked government paper considered culling 200,000 cows to meet climate targets.
That's so ridiculous.
The humble cow became the symbol of everything that was wrong with farming. Then protests began and tractors and farmers clogged European capitals, eventually breaking the political will behind the Green Deal, the EU's flagship climate agenda. Now, instead of asking if Europe has too many animals, it treats having too few as a threat to its very existence. Exactly right. Exactly right. While Greenpeace, the WEF, and the UN have all publicly disagreed and protested this change of policy, stating that changing methane from farmed animals is natural, is nothing more than wishful thinking at best and a scandal at worst. But we agree, the methane runs a cycle. We'll let Andrew Wright from Farm Theory explain it to you.
If climate scientists were truly driven by the accuracy of the information they present, they would not claim that my dairy cows are killing the planet. That is a lie that is deliberately ignoring science fact. We will get to the why. Why would climate scientists lie about my cows killing the planet? But first, let's examine the claimed carbon emissions from my dairy cows. Climate science claims that per litre of milk, the global average emission is 2.5 kilograms of CO2 equivalent per litre. To set that in context, a litre of petrol emits less carbon, they claim, than a litre of milk. If that does not ring alarm bells and send up some red flags for you, I'm not sure what will. A litre of naturally produced milk is never going to emit more carbon than a litre of petrol which was dug up from underground and is made entirely of carbon. A big one is the scope of the emissions, so what are you including? An example would be that the aviation industry and their emissions only includes the fuel used, whereas whenever climate scientists calculate the emissions from a kilogram of beef, for example, they often even include things like deforestation in Brazil. They include everything they can possibly imagine in the agricultural calculation. However, when it comes to industry like aviation, they include the bare minimum. The methane that comes from my cows, which climate scientists claim makes up about 50% of all agricultural emissions globally. So why do cows emit methane? Cows emit methane because they digest grass using bacteria. That all happens in their rumens. That process of breaking down cellulose and fibre that they otherwise couldn't digest emits the methane gas. And when that gas is emitted from the cow's mouth, it is counted in the calculations as a direct emission into the atmosphere. Counted in exactly the same way as releasing natural gas straight into the air from fossil fuels. Now that might sound logical up to this point to you. Both are the same gas, CH4, so both should be counted as an emission equally. However, the source of where that carbon in the CH4 came from is where there is the difference. And that is the big lie from climate scientists. CH4 from natural gas is a carbon atom that was locked away deep underground for thousands of years. The carbon in the CH4 which comes from my cows came from the grass that they eat. And does anyone know where grass gets its carbon from? It gets it from the air. So when it comes to cows, the carbon which ends up in the methane came from the atmosphere in the first place. You may have learned this in secondary school as the carbon cycle. Carbon cycle. It cycles. It goes round. So far we have carbon from the air, to carbon in the grass, to carbon in the cow's diet, to released as carbon in methane. The final piece of that cycle is that CH4 or methane naturally breaks down to CO2 and H2O after about 12 years. So the carbon that was in the methane is then returned to CO2 in the air, ready to be absorbed by plants again, which are then eaten by my cows, continuing this cycle. So where's the lie? What is the claim made by climate con artists? Well, the climate con doesn't take any account of that cyclical process. They take their measurement at the moment the methane leaves the cow's mouth. They record what exits and never account for where it came from. That method of calculation makes sense for fossil fuels because they are deep underground and have been there for a very, very long time. But it does not make sense when you're dealing with a natural cycle like the carbon cycle. And cows are treated totally differently to the carbon cycle elsewhere in nature. The best example is us as humans. I am breathing in oxygen and emitting carbon dioxide. But that is not an emission. And the reason it's not an emission is because that carbon which I emit came from my food. And if it came from my food, it didn't come from fossil fuels, it came from atmospheric carbon. So it is logical, it is not counted. But they treat cows differently. Now, if you're a climate scientist or just someone who buys into this total nonsense, I know what you're screaming at the screen. You're saying, but methane is a much more potent greenhouse gas than CO2. And you are spot on. It's about 100 times more warming than CO2. However, that does not matter. I have a bucket. This is going to represent our atmospheric methane store. The methane which all of the global cows emit is rising at a rate of 100 methane atoms per hour. And the methane which is breaking back down to CO2 and water is doing that at 100 methane molecules per hour. And if that is the case, my bucket will never overflow. The amount of methane in the atmospheric store will stay the same. So the contribution my cow's methane emissions make to actual planetary warming on a stable animal population, which is what we have, is essentially zero. But it is counted in the calculations as an emission, a one-way, non-cyclical emission, exactly the same way as natural gas released from deep underground. It is not scientific, it is entirely false and is absolute propaganda.
So there you have it, mate.
Yeah, so you just got to say, I mean, they were saying that the gas emitted by the cows was worse than the gases emitted by cars.
Yeah.
So what would you rather be? Would you rather be stuck in a shed with 4 cows overnight, live cows, or would you like to be stuck in a shed with just 1 car running overnight?
No, the answer is put me with the cows.
Which one would you survive?
Yeah, exactly right.
It's been insane for a long time.
It has.
At least 20 years.
Yeah.
It's been insane.
Nuts.
And Bill Gates has been pushing his bloody, his fake meat and his bio meat.
Yeah.
And he is really quite heavily affiliated with the WEF.
Yes.
I've heard. And it all just seems like rich people trying to make money out of poor people as usual.
I think they've realised they can never grow enough lab meat to feed the people.
Mm.
So while he thought it was the next best thing, he's backed off it. And now all of a sudden, oh no, cows aren't that bad.
Yeah, I know.
It's like climate change, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Climate change. Oh my God, the world is going to end.
Yeah.
Oh, what's this shiny new toy? Data center? Oh no.
Oh no, it's not as bad as we thought.
It really isn't. Yeah, it's been catastrophized.
You couldn't even make this shit up.
No.
But there's still people out there that believe in the first shit they said.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, it must be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, climate change is a thing.
Yeah.
Are we emitting to it? Are we causing it? We might very well be.
We're probably adding to it.
But what no one's actually said, I mean, they've said, oh, there's going to be a freeze, or it's going to warm up, or the atmosphere is going to like dissipate and the sun's going to start burning us more. And it's like,
at the end of the day,
it's just fear-mongering.
It is.
All the time.
At the end of the day, the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars or euros or US dollars or whatever that have been spent around the world to combat climate change, has the temperature come down at all, mate?
No.
No. Have we slowed it at all?
Well, the fact is that the likes of China and India, they've not even started it.
No.
So it's like, what's the point?
India are about to pillage our country for all our uranium.
I know.
Then, I mean,
it's like, we don't want to use any of our natural resources. We want to just give it to someone else, then it's their problem.
They will create clean energy with it.
Yes.
And they are turning us into their Indonesia. We'll be in there mining it.
Yeah. We're going to turn into a third world, mate.
Yeah, well, we're heading We're heading that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt
Well,
about it.
the longer Labour and the Greens are running it, the worse we are.
Yeah, exactly right.
Mm.
So let us know what you think, everybody. Cows aren't the problem. We now feel vindicated in what we did last year, even though we copped a bit of flack. Not many people watched that video, to be honest.
150.
No, it was 213.
Wow.
It's got to, but no one's watched it recently. But we feel vindicated because cows are not the cause of climate change.
Thank God. I love cows.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
See you guys.
See ya.